You tell yourself you're fine doing it alone. Not because anyone forced you into it, but because something in you flinches at the idea of needing a hand. You've turned down help you actually wanted. You've stayed up until 3 a.m. rebuilding something a colleague offered to fix in 10 minutes. You call it standards. High bar, attention to detail, just how you're built. But what if the standard was never the real reason? What if some quiet part of you believes that needing support is proof you were never smart enough to do this without it? Here's the strange part. The smarter someone is, the more convincing this belief becomes because their competence keeps confirming it. They solve the hard problem alone, so the brain logs a data point. See, you didn't need anyone. It never logs the cost. Researchers who study the imposter phenomenon, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, found this exact pattern in high-achieving people decades ago. Competence doesn't cure the fear of being exposed as not enough. It just raises the stakes of ever being caught needing help. So the workaround isn't laziness, and it isn't even arrogance. It's an equation running quietly underneath everything. If I need help, I'm not enough. If I do it alone, I get to keep being the person everyone thinks I am. Every refused offer of help is a small ritual, a way of protecting an identity that feels one accepted favor away from collapsing. Picture the actual moment. Someone offers to take a piece of the project off your plate. There's a half-second flinch before you say, "I've got it." And that flinch isn't politeness. It's a tiny survival reflex. The same one that makes you redo work that was already fine, that makes rest feel like cheating. You're not avoiding help, you're avoiding the version of yourself that needs it. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. That exhaustion you're carrying, it isn't really a side effect of working hard. For a lot of high-functioning people, it's the unconscious goal. Suffering visibly is how the achievement gets to feel earned. There's a well-documented effect in behavioral research called the IKEA effect, named after the furniture, where people value something more once they've struggled to assemble it themselves. The same logic gets quietly applied to success. Ease feels suspicious. Struggle feels legitimate. So the exhaustion isn't something you're trying to avoid. Somewhere underneath, it's the receipt you keep, the proof that what you built actually counts. And here's the part most people miss entirely. This isn't a flaw you developed by accident. It's a strategy your brain built on purpose, a long time ago when it actually worked. Think back. Somewhere in your story, being capable got you something that being vulnerable never did. Attention, safety, approval, a parent's pride, a teacher's praise, a way to matter in a house where being impressive felt safer than being needed. Carol Dweck's research on praise found something similar in children. Kids praised for being smart rather than for the effort they put in became more afraid of failure, more likely to avoid challenges that might expose them. If your early world rewarded the appearance of effortless capability, your brain didn't malfunction. It adapted perfectly to the incentives it was given. It just never updated the strategy once the incentives changed. That's the quiet truth underneath all of this. You're not broken. You're running a survival program that used to be brilliant and is now slowly working against you. But let's not romanticize this either, because that adaptation has a price, and the price is compounding. Every time you decline mentorship, you cap your own growth at the ceiling of what one person can figure out alone. Every time you refuse delegation, you train the people around you to stop offering. Every time rest feels like betrayal, you teach your body that recovery has to be earned rather than needed. The loneliness isn't a coincidence, it's the architecture of the strategy itself, built for protection, paid for in isolation. So what actually shifts this? Not motivation, not just ask for help as a slogan. What shifts it is catching the moment the flinch happens and naming it out loud, even just to yourself. This isn't about quality, this is about not wanting to feel like I needed someone. Once you can see the flinch as a flinch and not as evidence, it loses some of its grip. Asking for help stops being a confession and starts being information, a normal data point in how competent people actually operate,
not a quiet admission of failure. So maybe the goal was never to need nobody. Maybe it was to become someone capable enough to choose when help makes sense, without that choice meaning anything about your worth at all. The version of you that flinches at being offered a hand isn't weak, it's just still protecting a kid who once learned that being impressive was the safest thing to be. That kid did a good job keeping you safe. He just doesn't have to work this hard anymore. If this resonated, there's something in the description that might help you look at it a little closer.